No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Good afternoon, Winnipeg. Good afternoon, Manitoba. For all those joining us live this afternoon on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good afternoon, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. With Dave Manouk, with Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mandel, here to discuss the Winnipeg Jets finishing the 4-game homestand with the 3-1 victory over the Vancouver Canucks, putting a final blow, I would say, in the Canucks playoff hopes, while giving the Jets some breathing room over the Washington Capitals and the Dallas Stars, as the Capitals, in fact, lost to the Buffalo Sabres this afternoon. Ironic, a week ago on this Sunday, the Jets lost to the Sabres, and now the Sabres do a favor for the Winnipeg Jets in defeating the Washington Capitals. I'm still on vacation, as you can tell, and it's raining where I am, so I'm...
Must be nice, Drew. We're doing all the hard work back here in Winnipeg, and you're vacationing all the time.
That's right. Still, exactly. I'm huddled in the corner outside here, which is why this unfortunate camera angle is what I'm subjecting everybody to on tonight's post-game show. But nonetheless,
you do get to see the stash nice up and close.
That's true. You also get to see the double chin, which might be a triple chin at this angle as well. So you
don't actually have to worry, Drew, because you're actually you're so close that you're actually like your head is blocked by the Illegal Curve post-game show, and your mic is blocking your chin. So really, all people are seeing are your eyes and your mustache.
I'm like the Conan O'Brien sketch where all it is the mouth moving and everything else is frozen. Yeah, exactly. That's what I am right now. So I thought that would be fun to do on this Sunday afternoon. The Winnipeg Jets, like I said, they wrap up the 4-game homestand with getting 3 victories in their final 3 games today, defeating the Vancouver Canucks in what I thought was just a calm and patient effort by the Winnipeg Jets. They obviously give up the first goal. They pick up Matt Prefontaine for once. Normally, Matt Prefontaine is the one picking the Jets up. The players rally to his defense in tonight's contest instead, after he is surprisingly incorrect on a offside challenge.
That was really close, though, Drew. I mean,
really close.
That's about as close as they get. Like, Dave was there in the building. I obviously was not. I'm watching at home, but I mean, I thought there was a good chance that was going to be called back, but it was almost just too close. Like the video, they weren't able to obviously overturn it. It just wasn't conclusive, right? But that was close. So I think we'll give Matt Prefontaine a pass on that one.
We will give him a pass on. He's usually pretty reliable. In this instance, it was within a whisker that they let it stay on the board. But nonetheless, the Winnipeg Jets just kept with it. They kept at it. They ended up just, I think overpowering the Vancouver Canucks. They're a better team than Vancouver is. We know, as I mentioned, that Vancouver has had such turmoil this season, fighting for their playoff lives. They need every win possible. But it's sort of funny, as I was watching the game, remember, it was Friday night. Right? I think it was Friday night that Vancouver lost 7-6 in a shootout to Columbus. So you knew it was going to be a complete opposite style game, that they were going to try and find a way to recapture the tight checking or defense first mantra that every coach in the NHL preaches. And for a lot of the game, they were very good at doing that. They were keeping the Jets to the outside. Thatcher Demko was saving everything that was being thrown his way. But to the Jets' credit, they just stayed calm. They stayed patient. They just stayed with it, with their game. And then they became opportunistic when they had the chances. And of course, and we'll get into it in the goal-by-goal recap here, but Cole Perfetti with an absolute highlight reel. There's no question, we were talking about it on Friday. I wasn't sure which goal was going to be the Seagram shot of the game. No. There was no question about it tonight. Cole Perfetti, everyone's been singing his praises for the last month or so, ever since Prickfetti made his appearance on the scene. This might be the ultimate in Cole Perfetti turning into Prickfetti, as he just embarrasses Derek Forbort and gives the Jets the insurance marker and just makes the place electric, as everybody all over in the arena, everybody on social media, we're just talking about Cole Perfetti and his fantastic goal to give the Jets the 3-1 lead.
Yeah, and Dave, sorry, you took a deep breath there, Dave. So I thought you were going to go, and then I jumped in there. I was just going to quickly say we've got Daryl's comment up right now. Like, I was going to say, not only was that a top 10 goal of the year, maybe a top 10 Jets 2.0 goal of all time. Like, I was going to say top 5 goal this year, top 3 maybe. Obviously, Gabe Velarde's goal, was that against the Rangers? I want to say the one where he knocked it down and then he deked the defenseman through the legs. You guys remember which goal I'm talking about, right? So somebody in the chat can hopefully help me out there, which team that was against. I want to say it was the Rangers. I think it was on the road. But yeah, that's definitely one of the nicest goals that you're going to see. And let's be honest, guys, Dave, before I let you get back in here, I mean, there wasn't a lot for Jets fans to cheer about before Kyle Connor scored in the second period. Like, low event game. And obviously, the Jets got some momentum after the Connor goal, and they got some momentum after killing that penalty that Luke Shen took, right? But I mean that goal by Perfetti was incredible, and that was kind of a back-breaking goal for Vancouver. They just seemed like, to me, Dave, like a team that was at the end of a 6-game road trip. Like, they could have been a lot more desperate, in my opinion, in this game.
They ran out of gas. I would say that's probably right. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I mean, the only thing I was going to say is, to the comment that Ezzy had up about, Perfetti's goal, I was going to say it's a shame that the NHL did a 20-minute video cutting all the once the Jets clinched after they defeated the Capitals, was it? But the fact is they did this video where it was like 20 minutes of all the highlights. They're going to have to go back and re-edit it in, Ezzy, because Cole Perfetti's goal was incredible. And we haven't seen him score like that sort of goal in it. I mean, that was spectacular. And it almost like he was like, forgot who he was, because he celebrated with the old arms up, and then he was like, oh wait, I'm Cole Perfetti, I can't do that. So he got up and he was a little bit more reserved, but it's a big goal. It was a huge goal. I mean, obviously it broke the hearts of the Canucks, because 2-1 they can still fight back and try and get into it, but just another workmanlike effort by this Jets team. And you knew that they wanted to close up this homestand strong. Connor Hellebuck gets to 43 wins on the season now, just one shy of matching his career high for this franchise of 44, still on pace because of he's continuing to play. So he could.
Thank you, by the way, Drew, for adjusting I can see your eyes now. Before we couldn't even see it. Like, we could actually see. Sorry, Dave, but just looking over, like, Drew adjusted his camera.
Yes, I know.
Half of your face was cut off.
I know. I actually approved of it, but unfortunately, one of our friends from the Philippines pointed it out. And so, anyways, but the point is,
we're huge in the Philippines, by the way.
We are big. But the fact is that Connor Hellebuck gets to 43 wins, one shy, and like I said, it could potentially. Drew, you might have to mute your mic. Got too many birds chirping in the background. But, anyways, unless
or is that a squirrel? I thought that might be a squirrel.
I think it was a bird.
It was a bird.
Yeah. But anyway, so I love that Drew has to mute. This is the best. Yes, last time it was honking. This time it's birds. Thank you, M. Arrow.
Someone gave us $2.79 with no comment.
That's M. Arrow's watching us in the Philippines.
Oh, okay, but there was no comment, so I wasn't sure.
Because I think he's paying a penalty for noting that Drew's camera wasn't good.
It's penance.
Yeah,
he's paying penance right now.
That's great. I think that's the exact amount for a McChicken at McDonald's, so that'll be great.
The point I'm making slowly is that Connor Hellebuck is slowly but surely getting to that the Demko Brodeur line, Ezzy. So he's doing something again that we've never seen here, potentially. And the other thing is also Kyle Connor. He's on pace to maintain that he could be the first 100-point player in Jets 2.0 history. He gets a goal and assist in this game, so he gets the 90 points for the second time in his career. So lots happening. And yeah, it was kind of, I mean, again, I was there for the first 2 periods. It was a bit muted, and Ezzy and I were texting and saying, well, this game's not the most riveting of hockey games. And the Jets really, to be honest, you controlled, and I know we're going to get into it, but the Jets controlled the first period, right? The Jets, the Canucks had 2 shots at like the 17:05 mark and the 17, like they had 2 where they were standing in Hellebuck's crease, back-to-back shots. Then they didn't get another shot for 10 minutes. I mean, Pia Suter had the one that went off the crossbar after Logan Stanley gave the puck up in the zone. One of those things that you're going to have to, areas that they're going to have to clean up because, again, you don't want to be making those mistakes. But the Jets really did have the control of the play. And obviously, the 5-on-3, the woeful 5-on-3, the Jets are going to start declining those. But ultimately, you like Connor Hellebuck, again, another workmanlike effort from him, workmanlike effort from the team. And as Kevin Sawyer mentioned on the broadcast, everybody seemed to have a piece of that game.
Yeah, it was a full team effort, no question about it. So Scott Arniel's media availability is a little delayed. So the post-game availability, because it's jerseys off their back day at the arena. So that's why things are a little bit delayed. So we'll
Oh, they're doing that now?
Yes, they're doing that right now. They're doing that right after the game.
Oh.
So that's why everything's a little delayed. All the media availabilities, the players, and then the coaching staff. So let's get into the game, the goal-by-goal recap, which we will then break off when we bring in Scott Arniel with the post-game
what do you think?
Media availability.
Drew seems to be rushing things. I'm not so sure we could.
If you guys want to go longer, you can. That's fine.
We can kibitz a little bit longer.
We can kibitz. It's not gonna shorten the show up at all. It's just gonna make it so that that's why we haven't heard from Scott Arniel yet. Normally we would have heard from him by now. It's
interesting, Ezzy, because they were doing usually back in the day, the jerseys off our back was the last game of the season.
Right.
And it's funny because throughout the course of this hockey game, or the first two periods that I was at, sorry, I should say, they were announcing, they're saying, oh, hey, we're doing this. But to be honest with you, I actually assumed it was for one of the later games in April. Like that fan appreciation game, which is, I think, the last game.
The last game is against Anaheim. It's a Wednesday night, 6 o'clock start. That's fan appreciation game.
Yeah, so
this is jerseys off your back date.
But I assumed it was all kind of interconnected, and they were just going to tell people that, hey, you won. And it was funny but the problem is, like, I don't know. To me, it was a little bit bizarre because if you're not paying attention, how do you get notification that you've won? Because you have to be looking up at the Jumbotron at that time. Anyway,
by the way, boys, I'm really looking forward to that Jets Ducks game. That should be a riveting hockey game.
The last game of the regular season, Wednesday. I think it's what is that? That's the 19th, Wednesday, April the 19th, if I'm not mistaken. So it shouldn't be that riveting. You never know what it might actually mean in terms of either the standings or the President's Trophy or something along those lines.
Well, and Drew, it's worth mentioning. I know you want to get to the recap, but worth mentioning, Ezzy, that this Jets team now has a 3-point lead. The Washington Capitals, as Drew mentioned, lose to the Sabres. So Jets now have a 3-point lead on the Capitals, and the more important lead.
They do have one game in hand, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Washington has one game in hand, and Dallas has one game in hand.
Right. You now go back up to 6 points because, if you lose this game, which, after the first period, you're like, what's going on here? Yeah. If you lose this game, Dallas is only 4 back with a game in hand. Now you're back up to that 6-point buffer, really making that, Drew, you want to mention that Boston Pizza night. You should be mentioning it over and over again because that game against Dallas could be a huge one.
That's going to be Thursday, April the 13th. Thursday, April the 10th. I got my dates a little wrong here. Thursday, April
13th, that's the Oilers.
No. Thursday, April the 10th against the Dallas Stars. We're going to be live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. So that is where we're going to be for the Illegal Curve live on location watch party and the Illegal Curve live on location post-game show. So be sure to join us for that Thursday, April the 10th, the Jets and the Dallas Stars. The first Jets Stars game was monumental. This one is probably going to be equally as important right before the end of the regular season. The regular season ends on the 9th, on the 13th. Pardon me. I'm getting my dates all confused here. Sorry. The regular season for the Winnipeg Jets, it ends on April.
Holy moly, Drew.
April the 16th. April the 16th is the regular season finale against the Anaheim Ducks.
Drew's on vacation when?
Yeah, exactly. April the 10th against Dallas will be at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. So that's where I'm getting a little mixed up. April the 10th, April the 16th. Let's get into the goal-by-goal recap, and then we'll bring in Scott Arniel shortly thereafter as well.
The Play Now game recap.
It's brought to you by our friends at Play Now, who hopefully aren't watching me butcher this post-game show so far, but I know that they are our good friends, and we thank Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't bet on illegal sites. Bet with Play Now instead. Manitoba's safe, local, and secure gambling site, legal as well, 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to our friends at Play Now. We have to start with the 5-on-3 woes of the Winnipeg Jets, because it's sort of remarkable that a power play as good and as dangerous as the Winnipeg Jets is so bad at 5-on-3. Yet again, they had a lengthy 5-on-3 advantage.
It was a minute 7, Drew.
And I don't believe they had a shot on goal.
They didn't.
Which is, is it that they're being too cute? Are they looking for the perfect play when they should just simply be simplifying it, putting pucks on net? and trying to outnumber their opponents, which they have, by the way, 2 extra players than the opponents do. It just seems like that 5-on-3 mindset for the Jets needs to be more basic, more shoot, puck retrieval, rebound, than perfect passing like they've been trying to do in the last number of 5-on-3 opportunities.
Yeah, it's when you have a 5-on-3 for minute 7 and you're not able to generate one shot. I mean, that's a problem. And this is, the 3rd or 4th by my count 5-on-3 that the Jets have failed to score on, right? Which is surprising because I think earlier in the season that was an automatic goal. You're going to score on one of those power play opportunities, right? And I think it is, Drew, what you mentioned. I think there's a little bit of a hesitancy to work the puck down low and get some shots either through that bumper slot or just getting a point shot with a high tip, right? I think there's a little bit of that. But that was definitely a glorious opportunity. It was Teddy Bluger who took that high sticking penalty, which made it a 5-on-3, like we talked about, for about just over a minute 7. And that was kind of, you're looking at that and you're thinking, that's a big opportunity that they have missed out on there. But I think they will figure it out. And obviously, guys, Gabe Vilardi, Dave reported on this for illegalcurve.com yesterday, right? Like, Gabe Vilardi's not coming back for a while now. It's going to be at least a couple of weeks. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be. It's a bit of a mystery, right? But they're going to have to figure this out without Vilardi in the lineup. And I actually thought, guys, we talked about it. Obviously, they scored the goal against the Devils on the power play. It was Iafallo, if I'm not mistaken, right? That got the power play goal. And I thought he looked really good. I didn't think, he was as noticeable today on the power play. But it's definitely something, as the Jets pile up these wins, Dave, the power play is certainly nowhere near clicking what it was earlier in the season, right? So I think they're aware of it, and I think they'll get it together. I think there's way too much talent. I always say this, but I think there's way too much talent for this power play to be struggling like it is lately.
Well, and the only thing I would add is your PK has been playing well. So there's a bit of an offset, right? Like, obviously your preference would be to have them both being effective and playing well and
no shots on the first 2 Canucks power plays. So
that's what I mean though. Like, and we've been seeing that more and more now that PK has been coming up. And so as one of the things I said, you don't need to be the best power play in the NHL to be a Stanley Cup champion. We know that, but I think your PK finding its way, if the Jets continue to regress from a power play perspective and get down to, and I know overall, like, forget about the overall, because it's only going to drop so far because they were so lethal for so long. And I know that you'd say, over the last month, it's X. I don't have the number off the top of my head. My point is that, let's say it's, whatever the percentage is, wherever it is, you can live with that because your PK has gotten it into, I would imagine, is in the top 10 of the NHL. And again, I don't know exactly. Drew usually is pretty good at crunching these numbers and giving them to us. So I'm hoping to delay. I'm filibustering a little bit so he can give us the last.
You don't see Drew's got an abacus out of the camera shot there. He's actually crunching those numbers right now.
So I'm just saying that from my perspective, if the PK has improved, we know that it's around, I think it was around 13th, 14th best in the NHL overall, but what it's been over the last, let's say, month or so, or whatever the time frame Drew arbitrarily chooses when he chimes back in. But I just think that, to me, that is more important for the Jets, is that their PK is preventing goals, because that of course can be such a big killer in terms of the playoffs and the momentum and that sort of thing. So from that perspective, yes, it's disconcerting to have a power play that's not moving, because even, let's be realistic, Gabriel Vilardi hasn't been out that long, and the power
14th in the NHL over the last month.
Okay, so that's what are you saying? Their PP or their PK?
The PK is 14th in the NHL, 79.3%,
which is
in the month of March.
Well, that's bottom third, Dave, in that time.
Yeah, I would think the power play is, I don't know, bottom third, but I mean, it's been somewhere in that number. But I mean, 14th is where
power play has been 13th. So you have a PK that's been 14th in the month of March, and a power play that's 13th at 25.8%.
Okay, well, I thought the PK was a little bit
the power play was worse than that, but actually that's not bad.
It's funny, actually, I thought the PK was better, and I thought the power play was worse. But regardless, okay, so there you go, Drew.
Well,
giving you the numbers.
I mean, it was the slump right after the Four Nations for the power play.
Yeah,
then it went on
over
that
17
huge heater.
Yeah.
Then it went on a heater, and now it's sort of been, I would describe as average, which, so it'll when one's bad and then one's good and then one's average, it balances out to average. And the PK has probably been something similar to that. And
to give Tracy credit, because I would agree, the power play has gone static. They're not moving as much as they were in the early days. And I I think we would all agree that that's, at least in part, some of the problems that and I agree with Ezzy. I think they have been passing up some really good opportunities to be almost like too cute. And you kind of saw it. Yeah. And again, at the end, it wasn't a power play. It was 5-on-5, but almost when Cole Perfetti gave up that chance at the end of the game to try and get it to Nino Niederreiter. And I get it. Yeah. His buddies are in town from Switzerland. He wants him to have success and score.
By the way, are those guys staying here until the playoffs start? Like, those guys are awesome, by the way. If they do, it's just like, I think they've been they were at all 4 games on the homestand.
I think they were certainly there on Tuesday for sure. They were sitting just a bit below me on Tuesday night when I was there with my daughter. But they've been, I think,
and you actually had a big brick of Swiss cheese on you.
That's true. I just always carry a brick of Swiss cheese with me at all times. It's funny. You just never know when I'm going to get hungry.
Drew, you seem like more of a Gouda kind of guy.
Is Gouda Swiss though for a cheese?
Well, look, you're asking me. Like, I know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Swiss cheese is the Swiss. I mean,
there's only one kind of cheese Dave M knows about. It's called mozzarella.
I like the holes. Yeah, mozzarella.
You can't just start all of a sudden dropping new cheeses in that might not be Swiss when we're talking about the Swiss guys here watching their buddy Nino. Dave, there's a pattern. You gotta work with us here a little bit.
Fair enough.
Yeah. In any event, so the Jets do not score on the 5-on-3 opportunity, the glorious 5-on-3 opportunity in that first period. Had an opportunity to really blow the game open nice and early.
Natalie's schooling us for those listening on the podcast. Gouda is from Gouda, she tells us.
Yeah, but where is Gouda?
Gouda is apparently Dutch, says Charlie Horse.
Okay.
Oh, so there you go. In any event, now that we're into the cheese portion of the conversation, hopefully Scott Arniel won't be too much longer because things are quickly going off the rails.
What about goat cheese, Drew? Do you like goat cheese?
I do like goat cheese.
All I know is, as Yin Vivian says, this show has more holes than Swiss cheese has.
Yin Vivian has the best line maybe of the night so far, or the day, yeah.
Vancouver opens the scoring with 1:05 to go in the first period. P.S. Suter is 22nd of the year, assist to Tyler Myers and Jake DeBrusk. And it's a bad read by, I think it's a bad read by Mark Scheifele more than Logan Stanley on this play. They both go after Myers.
Yeah.
And, we've known Myers very well around these parts for a long time. We know what his shortcomings are, and we know what his strengths are. And he makes just a nice feather pass into Suter, who's able to come downhill right into the pass, and he fires it over Connor Hellebuck's shoulder to give the Canucks the early 1-0 lead, or at least not early, but late in the first period, he gives them the lead 1-0 at that point in time. The Jets had played pretty decently for that first period. Just not a great read on this play by Mark Scheifele. I thought just trying to do maybe too much, and as a result, abandoning the center of the ice and opening it up for P.S. Suter.
Yeah, I mean, Logan Stanley and Mark Scheifele, like you said, Drew, they're way too hyper-focused on Tyler Myers. That's the issue here. And what also happened is there was a bad line change, right? I had it written down here just to remember. But yeah, it was Colin Miller that goes off the ice. And then Luke Schenn is kind of, he just is out of the play. So I'm not saying that it's Luke Schenn's fault, but it was a bad line change. I think you had Ehlers going off, Dave, at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, right? So you had a couple Jets guys going, but it was just Jake DeBrusk just regrouped the puck at center ice and just gave it over to Myers, and Myers just saw that P.S. Suter was unaccosted heading to the net, and there was nobody around him. So it was a combination of a bad line change and Scheifele and Stanley not identifying that P.S. Suter was streaking to the net, right? So.
Yeah. But to me, Stanley's in a fine position here on Myers. He's in a fine spot.
Do we want to see Ken Weeb's head right now, by the
way? We're getting ready to bring in Scott Arniel from the Matt Frost Media Center, but Kenny was walking in front of the camera, Colby's camera, as he set up a photographer, videographer extraordinaire for us. Just, again, not a great read by the Winnipeg Jets, an uncharacteristic defensive breakdown, and Scheifele and Suter just makes no mistake. He's a nice player for Vancouver. He's the kind of guy that he's really sort of blossomed, over the years. He's become a reliable scorer, and he's got 22 on the year now for Vancouver.
22, not bad.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's really where the first period ends, is that 1-0 for Vancouver, Dave, on that goal by Suter.
Yeah, and the only thing I would add is just, as I said, the Jets seemed to have control of the period. It wasn't there wasn't a tremendous amount happening, but the shots were 5-2 at one point. And like I said, the Canucks didn't get their third shot, until the 7 minutes were remaining in that period. I agree with Is Your Boy Bruce. Smashy that like button. And remember, even if you're not watching us live and you're watching after the fact, you definitely have to come back and watch smash that like button after the fact. We take all smashes, right, Ez? But yeah, I mean, this is just an unfortunate play for the Jets because and a nice move by Suter. I mean, he just kind of goes inside out. Connor Hellebuck kind of watches him and then he goes top corner. So, and we should mention, as I said, kind of off the top, was that they did get a chance. Oh, are we gonna? I think we're gonna have the coach here, so we may be done soon. I saw Weber put his little.
Here we go. Here's Scott Arneal.
In terms of structure, I know you didn't love how it was in Vancouver, much tighter from your group today.
I liked the start of our game until after our power play was over, and then the last 12 minutes of the first wasn't real good, but I thought we took the game back over in the second and the third. Played a lot faster, closed a lot quicker, did a lot more of what we needed to do, and it was a really good third for sure.
What was the explanation that you got on the coach's channel?
It's tricky because when it gets to that point, the camera, the video that we have, it looks offside. But when you touch the next frame, or go back one frame forward, it's amazing how close it is. And obviously, once they started to look at it that long, then we figured that it wasn't going to be a goal. But I mean, it was going to be a goal. But it really, honestly, we thought 100%, that it was offside. But it just comes down. That one honestly was sort of you've seen them lots where sort of the frame of it, and then maybe is this because there was a blade in the air, and was it how far was it? Was it all the way over? Was the puck all the way over? So it was tight. We would have made that call. I would have made that call again. So.
And how would you describe the Perfetti goal?
Well, yeah, pretty impressive. I'm not sure if that defenseman was ready, expecting him to do that, and then the next part he makes a great move, but then that was a heck of a shot.
With the been a couple games of these new forward lines, the Lowry line looks a bit different to the Nemesnikov line. What have you liked about the different elements that your middle six has given you over these last couple of games?
Yeah, the big thing we've talked about with Lau's line is, with him and Apple and Ehlers, is that they are still facing the other team's, top line. They saw an awful lot of Suter tonight. I thought Apple and those guys, I thought they and Lau, and I thought they were real good in the sense of how physical they were. I thought Lau was real good. He's getting so many chances around that net front. I know he hasn't scored in a while, but he's doing all the right things. And Fly gives him some speed on there. But with Vladdy's line, like I mentioned you guys last week, there it gives there's two real skill with. Again, it's two skilled guys, and no disrespect to Nino's skill, but it's also another big body that goes to hard places, and I think that we're kind of getting that out of guys again. That's part of the identity of Nino when he plays that way. He's real effective.
Just one more for me. Seeing Mason Appleton get another goal there. Obviously, there was a bit of a stretch where he wasn't scoring much, 2 goals in his last couple of games or whatnot. What's it like to see a guy like him reward on the score sheet when a lot of his efforts maybe aren't always showing up there?
Yeah, I mean they do a lot of the grunt work, and it's hard. Those guys are grinders, and they have to play against the other team's top line, and their first job and their first responsibility is make sure the other team's top guys don't score. And when you can get bonus goals like they did tonight, that's big, and that was against their first line. And I did like the fact that how we scored it, because that is playoff style hockey. Those ones where you got to go in and Lau was in there hacking and whacking first, and then obviously Apple cleaned it up. But he's been consistent for us, and I know the pucks weren't going in, and every player goes through it. You go through a stretch. Some guys, elite guys, maybe don't go through it as long, but at the end of the day, you stick to what you're good at and the details of your game, and like that, you'll come out on the right end of it.
There is a moment where Niederreiter got a high deflection. For Demko. Then there's quite a bit of a scrum there. It looked like Cole Perfetti was at the center of it, but some guys could have stepped in and made sure he wasn't, at risk there. What did you see on that particular play?
It was a great tip. Start, obviously. I'm not sure what I kind of have an idea. Vladdy kind of started everything. Again, but in a way, it just is some pushing and shoving, but that's our group. We've stuck together, and we've had a lot of those challenges. Whether they're challenged, our top players, or they're challenging our tough guys, whatever. Our guys have done a good job of sticking together, and that's something that we've been preaching for the last few years. Is that that we're everybody on the ice is sticking together every chance we get.
I think back comparing almost this time of year to last year, you finished with 8 wins. And some of the under-the-hood numbers are maybe even better with this team than that one in terms of the control of play and things like that. Do you feel like this is a level perhaps even above that?
We've been playing at a pretty high level just for 74 games, in my opinion. Like, we've done a really good job of staying away from the low lows. And I think that the way we've just been able to focus and, put a game behind us and move forward to the next one. Last year there was a little bit more, there were some tough games, some tough stretches, and obviously we finished on a high note. But I just think this is a good hockey team that knows how to play night in, night out, and they know when we're successful because when we play the way we have to play. I don't know if it's any different. You may have those analytics or those stats or whatever. I just think that we're a very confident group, and we really, from game one of the season to where we are today, that when we play at our best, we're a tough team to play against.
We've asked you about him a bunch because he's been playing well in a lot of ways, but a year ago, Cole Perfetti wasn't an everyday player for you guys, and now he's doing that. He's on quite a stretch here. Is there any one thing, it's tough, but that you can point at in his year-over-year step that makes him who he is now?
I think we have talked about him, is that his mental part of it, that he recognizes that he's going to have highs and lows, he's going to have slumps, he's going to be in situations where he's having a bad game or a bad shift or a bad period, and he's been able to get himself out of it this year faster than he's ever been able to. And I think that he's still a young kid. For his first 2 years, he didn't play in the second half of the year, he never played when the games got, and those last 20, 25 games, 30 games, when it's the highest, most pressured situation, he never got to play in those games. And last year was a good 82 games, and he built. I know what happened in the playoffs; he didn't get to play. But at the end of the day, this year he's been able to really take all those situations and been able to learn from them, grow from them, and help him not to get in sort of situations where he gets himself down or he is his own worst enemy. I think that's probably the area the most. Is his maturity mentally has been really strong.
Scott, you guys sold out all 4 home games on this homestand, 5 in a row going back to Dallas. Is there a point of pride just as a team? Like, you can almost feel the correlation between maybe the fans really buying into what you guys are doing and you're kind of seeing it in terms of the environment in the rink?
Yeah, I obviously want that every night. I know that sometimes you have to earn it as well, and I just think that the one thing about the building, whether it's to capacity or not, we've been in it. We've been doing a good job of entertaining them, and it's been reciprocated back the other way. It's loud. It is really loud. You get down to the ice level, not just for this 4-game stretch. They've been great for us all year long, and obviously winning certainly helps that. But it's a loud building, and we'd like that to continue.
Just one final housekeeping one, because I'm not sure if you're off or having it available tomorrow.
Yeah, we're meeting at the airplane tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry, Brownie, you're done. I got you.
Eric, did baby arrive yet for Eric, or
Not
still
yet,
on?
no,
Okay.
not yet.
Is the plan though that he will accompany you?
We still have a day.
Right.
Here, so we'll see.
Would you consider, like, I'm not sure of Rasmus's status, so would you maybe be
Yeah,
considering
Rasmus is
calling a forward up?
Rasmus is kind of back in protocol here, so he won't be coming with us on a road trip.
So you probably want to get an extra forward just to bring with you? I'm not volunteering, by the way.
We are sort of making sure before we leave tomorrow they're on that airplane. We're going to make sure, because it's a 3-game road trip, that we have enough bodies.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just quickly on 5-on-3, what stood out to you?
What do you mean, what stood out?
No, I
We didn't score.
I-
Yeah, there was a couple looks. There's a couple that we just missed. We had some wide. I mean, that seam play to Scheif, it was a hot one. Al had a great look. Fly had a real good chance, and we never got the shots off. It was just sort of buck short and a day late on it. Thanks.
Sorry, wasn't, Ezzy, it's funny. Like, I was expecting Drew to be back. I was listening to Scott Arneal, but I was also making sure I was updating the Instagram, updating the website. And so I wasn't really privy to the exchange in the private chat. And then sure enough, I come back to look and I'm like, whoa, wait, there's Ezzy. There's me. There's Weber's head for some reason. And okay, let's get rid of Weber's head. Let's get rid of Weber in this thing.
Let's keep it.
No, people give me that's not nice. Come on, people. It's poor Weber. He doesn't. He's unaware. Let's remove that. But Welcome back. This is, of course, the Illegal Curve post-game show where Sans, our host, Drew Mandel, which means I assume the hosting responsibilities. Brendan Matheson, we're going to give him a shout out. Thanks for the donation. I really want AI to stick around. Feel like he and Vladdy of God have been good mentors for Cole Perfetti. Well, as the aforementioned Ken Wiebe reported, it does sound like the two sides want to get something done before he hits free agency on July 1st. So
I was also going to say, Dave, you were getting some tidbits for illegalcurve.com there, right? Like, obviously no update. Eric Comrie and his wife are expecting, I believe it's their second child, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And then also that Rasmus Kupari was in protocol, which I don't believe Scott Arnier.
No,
that's new, right? So that's something that we suspected. We talked about it on yesterday's show, right?
Yeah.
Because Rasmus Kupari had suffered the concussion. So it looks like there's a good chance that there will be a forward that is called up from the Moose based on that.
Yeah. And the Moose season, I'm going to spoiler alert if we do a Moose minute, which I'm not sure we will, but the Moose lost yesterday to Rockford, or it lost to the Ice Hogs in Rockford, which basically ends their very slim playoff aspirations. So they are going to have plenty of guys available to get the recall. Probably be someone like, I would imagine, Brad Lambert or Dominic Conato, or it depends, I guess, if they want to play. I mean, if the player's not playing, then, it really doesn't matter. Jared Anderson Dolan. Now I think about if they're not going to play, and then you let these guys play the last few games for the Moose this week with Laval in town. We'll have tickets to give away for that, but we'll keep things going. Of course, feels a little disjointed. If you're just joining us, this is the Illegal Curve post game show. 74th one of the season. The Jets are the first place team in the NHL. They increased their lead over the Capitals to 3 points and a 6-point lead. The more important one, I know some folks are excited about the President's Trophy, others are not, but the one that folks are clearly excited about is that top spot in the Central. The Jets, of course, increased their lead to 6 points over the idle Dallas Stars, who beat Seattle yesterday. So Dave Lowry did not give Adam Lowry his birthday present to make it a little more difficult on the Stars. Dallas won that game. They'll have a rematch in Seattle again, the rare home back-to-backs. So Dallas will be in Seattle, and we'll see if Seattle can do the Jets a favor by dethroning those Stars. Now we'll get back into the game, by goal recap here on the Illegal Curve postgame show. But while you're here, make sure you slash that like button and ensure that you are subscribing to this channel. Well, we talked about the first goal by those Vancouver Canucks, Ezzy. So we'll get into the first goal by the Winnipeg Jets. And you and I were just before Scott Arniel walked up to the podium in the Matt Frost Media Center. You and I were talking about the fact that we had been texting. We've been saying this game is not very exciting. It's a low event, not a lot happening. And just before you text me, I thought, boy, the Jets could really use a goal to get this crowd into it, because sure, it's a good crowd, but there's not a lot for them to celebrate, not a lot for them to get excited about. Well, that was quickly thrown out the window when number 81 got going in the neutral zone. And, Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press, who sits just 2 seats over from us, kind of gave the old meep meep Roadrunner sound, which he usually reserves for Nikolai Ehlers. But Kyle Connor, as well, as we know, is a fast player. He got on his, got the wheels going and kind of an unexpected goal. Wasn't sure that, there was contact at all with the player. And, it confused Demko. But regardless of how it ends up going in, it goes in to give the Jets some life, tie the game, and gets the building going, because the fans get up and off their feet with Kyle Connor's 38th goal of the season.
Right. And this goal really was all Kyle Connor, right? Like, it's not like there was like a beautiful assist on this goal. Like, this is really all created from Kyle Connor's speed. And like you mentioned, Dave, like, it was a 1-on-2, right? So you had Jake DeBrusk back, and I believe it was Derek Forbort, who didn't have a very strong game. But like you said, Forbort looked like he got a little piece of the stick that might have caused a little bit of confusion for Demko. But I think it's just a smart realization that Kyle Connor had the speed, and he had enough of a gap that he could get a nice shot off. And I think it surprised Demko. At least that's what I saw. It looked like Demko was not set like he wanted to. And most goalies will tell you that they shouldn't be scored on from there. But Kyle Connor happens to be one of the best snipers. Like you said, 38 goals on the season. He's easily going to hit 40. It would be nice to see him get up to 45. I think 50 is going to be tough for him this year, Dave, at this point. But yeah, I mean, this is all Kyle Connor. Like you said, like Scheifele gets him the puck in the neutral zone, and then he just takes over, and just that quick release. We've talked about it so many times. We've talked about with Kevin Sawyer and others. It's just so hard for goalies to read. So I think just, again, another example of how Kyle Connor is able to read a situation. And even though it's a 1-on-2, instead of maybe, putting the puck in the corner and chasing it himself, he decides to put on net. So you got to love that shoot first mentality. Not only that he's had in this game, but he's had for the majority of his career, right? Like, we know Kyle Connor is an offensive minded player. But like you said, at this point in the game, there wasn't a lot of cheering coming from Jets fans. Not a lot of, we talked about it, not a high event game from that point, but obviously, that was a huge goal because it opened things up a little bit. It was a little bit of a stingy second period, Dave. It wasn't exactly, the most exciting brand of hockey, but again, that might have something to do with it being an afternoon game or just the type of game it was. But real nice shot by Connor.
And as pointed out by Matt Hyman, dad's strength. And that one probably gets saved, but he's got the dad strength. Congrats to Kyle Connor, who had his first child the other day. Well, he and his wife had the first child, and he's a new father. So he had.
By the way, should we go live to St. Boniface Hospital to see if Eric Comrie's wife is giving birth to their second child?
Yeah, there seems to be a lot of consternation as to whether Eric Comrie will be on the plane tomorrow as the Jets head west to Los Angeles, where they'll kick off. I think it's 3 on the road, starting with the Kings, then to Vegas, and then I believe they conclude in Utah. So we'll see what happens there. But and again, that is why you stay tuned to illegalcurve.com, your source for all the latest Jets and Moose news. They might have said practice is canceled. I'll still be at practice, as it'll be Moose practice covering. So I'll let you know, actually. See, the Jets won't want that out there, but I'll be at Moose practice. So I'll be able to let the people know which forwards are present and whether Chris Dreger or Dom DiVincentis are present and available. And if they're not, well, then you'll know which guys are getting the recall. So the Jets are now in a tie game. But the only other thing that I thought happened, and I recorded it because, as you were at the Devils game, so you got a chance to appreciate it. But the celebrity lookalike, got to give credit to the Jets folks, because they had a good one today. They had a guy who looked just like Jack Black. And, sometimes people don't play along. They get annoyed that they're being compared to somebody else. But shout out to the Jets, people, Kal Bahari and his crew in the video section of the press box, because they picked out a fan. And if you didn't see it, we've got it on the Illegal Curve Instagram. So the fan played along, and it was pretty funny.
Dave, I'll give you a quick story here before we get into the Mason Appleton goal. But as many of you know, I work at Hockey Manitoba, and we have a floorball program. For those who don't know, floorball is very similar to floor hockey. Like, just look it up. It's like floor hockey, but lighter sticks. You use wiffle balls. But we go to schools around the city, and this is a true story. Last year, we were at George V School, which is in the North End. It's an elementary school.
Yeah.
And multiple kids were calling me Jack Black. Not like one or two kids. Like, there were, like, I would say 4 or 5 kids that were going up to me and pointing at me and saying that I look like Jack Black. So, I mean, I'm going to take that as a compliment, Dave, because I love Jack Black. He's hilarious. Okay. One of my favorite movies is Orange County. I don't know if you remember that movie with Colin Hanks, Tom Hanks' kid.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
I think it was called Orange County, wasn't it?
It was definitely not called Orange County, for the record, because I was like, I know the movie you're talking about, but I don't think it was called Orange County. Wasn't that a TV show?
Okay, hold on. Let me look it up here.
You might be right, actually, Ezzy. Maybe it is.
No, it was Orange County, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Orange County, the movie where Colin Hanks tries to get into a university and then they can't. So then they go to the university and try to, like, convince the whoever, the dean of admissions. Yeah, Orange County. That's the movie.
Wow. All right. I stand corrected by correcting you, and I was incorrect.
Dave, we'll watch it sometime together.
Why don't we watch it right now? Yeah. Put it on. We're not doing anything. We're not like chatting with everyone on the show. Yeah. Sorry, everyone. We'll keep things. Look, we already diverged this conversation talking about the different types of cheeses. Alpha Dog got our back. He knows what movie it is. But anyways, let's keep things rolling, as we don't want to lose the audience. So Jets 2-1 all. And it was funny. I kind of said to one of the guys, I think it was Mike actually, or maybe it was Judy, in the press box, and I said, well, it's 1-1. Do you think these teams are going to play for overtime? Because, both teams need points, right? Even though the Jets are where they are, couldn't afford to lose and allow Dallas to have that opportunity to make it a 2-point deficit. So they were in need of points. And of course, the Vancouver Canucks, because look, we had Jeremy Rutherford on. If you didn't check it out, make sure you watch the Illegal Curve Hockey Show from yesterday. It was a really good one.
Sorry, by the way, Dave, I have to do some housekeeping here. Lanny is pointing out George V is in Elmwood. You're right.
Oh.
That is not the North End. And Dave M, by the way, is the one who gives us street cred because he actually is from the North End,
Correct.
as opposed to me, who grew up on the mean streets of River Heights.
The not so mean streets of the River Heights.
You're absolutely right. It is technically Elmwood, not the North End. So sorry about that, Lanny.
All righty. Well, that's okay. They ain't mad at you. But the Jets, of course, like I said, and the Canucks, because we had Jeremy Rutherford on. So if you didn't get a chance to listen to that interview with Jeremy, real interesting insight as to what's going on with the Blues. And it was funny because one of the things I said to we talked about in our discussion yesterday was, well, maybe the strength of schedule has, because one of the comments, I don't remember which commenter put it up there, but or who made the comment specifically, but they said, well, they beat the Predators 3 times and they beat maybe some weaker opponents. Well, yesterday in Colorado, they didn't beat a weaker opponent. They went in and beat the Colorado Avalanche 2-1. And I think Colorado had a total of 3 rush chances against those St. Louis Blues. But the St. Louis Blues don't look like they're going to be the Jets' problem, because I suspect they'll end up as the first wild card team based on how they're playing. And it most likely looks like the Minnesota Wild potentially are going to. But my point about this game is the Vancouver Canucks desperately needed this, at least 1, but really 2 points, because even though they have games in hand on the teams they're chasing, they're on the outside looking in, as are the Calgary Flames, who lost in overtime yesterday to the Oilers, which, by the way, was a good overtime. I don't know if you saw it, but the fact of the matter is, okay, it was pretty good overtime. Leon Draisaitl scored his second goal of the game to get to 51. But the Jets into the third period, when Mason Appleton, the Jets, nice play, go to the front of the net, get rewarded. Nikolai Ehlers with a little bit of a slick move, fires it in front. And when you've got a guy as big as Adam Lowry causing havoc in front, and then Mason Appleton joins them to create a little more chaos, they are able to put that puck into the back of the net. It's turned out to be the game-winning goal. And his 10th goal, I believe I saw someone say it was he's the 12th player now into double digits in scoring for the Winnipeg Jets. So again, a team that scores a lot, doesn't give up a lot of goals, and Mason Appleton makes it a 2-1 game.
And I just wanted to mention one thing, Dave, because if I don't, then the note that I took is just going to sit there and it's never going to get mentioned.
Sure.
But I wanted just to go back to the second period, because you were obviously there and you'll remember this. There was a partial breakaway by Connor Garland, and Colin Miller broke it up. I just wanted to mention
really
that
nice play.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that really nice play because obviously there weren't not a lot of goals in this game, right? So, we have to talk about something, right, Dave? But no, I just thought Colin Miller, obviously, he gets an assist, a secondary assist on Kyle Connor, the first goal. But obviously, nobody's really going to remember that. So I just wanted to give Colin Miller a shout out, because I think, it's going to be interesting, as you reported, right? Neil Pionk's getting closer. He's not obviously going to be on the road trip, but he's getting closer to coming back. And it's going to be interesting to see. I think, most people would agree that Colin Miller's going to be the odd man out, and then Luke Shen will be the third pairing defenseman with Logan Stanley. We think it's not necessarily a foregone conclusion, but just was really impressed by Colin Miller's game. Just wanted to get that in there. But yeah, I think, we've seen this so many times, Dave, on the Appleton goal. We've seen, Nick Ehlers, when he spins around and he's kind of creating chaos in the opposing zone, and then you had Lowry and Appleton going to the net, right? So obviously, Nikolai Ehlers had the Canucks kind of on their heels doing what he does best, when he's turning around and spinning. And then it was just Mason Appleton beating out, I believe it was Quinn Hughes, in front of the net. And, that's the type of goal, though, that Appleton has to score, right? Like, let's be honest here. You're not expecting Appleton to score pretty goals. Like, you're expecting him to score goals that are near the blue paint. And when we were talking to Kevin Sawyer yesterday on the show, he was mentioning that he thought Appleton was playing the best hockey of his career. And, let's be honest, he's gone through a pretty bad, 12 games, Dave, I believe, that he didn't have a goal, right? So Nino Niederreiter had his streak snapped recently. So I don't know. I'm still the type of guy, maybe it's because I wasn't a very good hockey player, but I still love those greasy type of goals right? Like I know that, we'll get into the Perfetti goal because that was one of the nicer goals of the year.
Yeah.
But I think there's something to be said by some of these greasy goals, right? And I think that's when the Jets are at their best, I believe, when they're getting goals from a variety of sources. Sure, you love to see Scheifele and Connor and Ehlers, producing all the offense, and obviously Velarde before he was injured. But when this team was at their best earlier in the season, I'm not saying that they're not at their best now, but when they were on their 15-1 streak, or when they were, that 11-game winning streak, you were getting goals from the third line. You were getting goals from the fourth line in addition to the top two lines, right? So I like the line, and it's only been 3 games, but with Ehlers and the type of east to west hockey that he plays, where he's able to use those rocket skates and dance around, the offensive zone, and then you got Lowry and Appleton who are able to crash the net. It's a fun line to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. And look, the Jets now have a 2-1 lead in the game, and the building is psyched up. You can feel the momentum starting.
Well, that's because you were there, Dave. That's why it was so pumped up.
At this point, as I've already left the building, although I was quite excited. I did have a.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you were gone by then. Yeah,
I was gone by then, but I did have a great parking spot. So good parking spot can really make can make the game.
A good parking spot can, forget that, Dave. A good parking spot can make your entire week, arguably the month, especially, downtown Winnipeg. Like, it's not easy to find free parking around downtown Winnipeg, but usually when I go with you, we're able to find a spot somewhere near Portage Place or something like that, right? But and then we have to get a little bit of a walk in, but that's not bad. But yeah, a good parking spot is huge. And the other thing I wanted to mention with this third period, like, it again just seemed like the Jets were very workmanlike and very sticking to the game plan, right? Even though, like we talked about, the second period for the majority of the period was not great, even though, I don't think it wasn't one-sided. I thought that, just even looking at the shot attempts were 41-41, and the high danger chances were 9-8 for the Jets at even strength. So, it was a 1-goal game in the third period, right? So, obviously, I don't know if you want to just transition right into the Perfetti goal, Dave.
Well,
but I think I've spoken too much, because I think we have to dedicate the next few minutes of the show to Cole Perfetti.
Well, and that will do. But the other thing, you mentioned the Colin Miller play, and the other one I want to highlight, because you see why Arneal has Kyle Connor on the PK. Because I don't know if you remember that play. I think it was in the second period, but in the neutral zone, and there was a pass coming from the Canucks zone, and Kyle Connor it's like he has eyes in the back of his head. Just kind of put his stick right in the lane and intercepted the pass, and just kind of look at it, and you're just like, wow, this guy, it really is amazing how he can do that kind of thing. And he does it, in my mind, more often than any other guys on this team, at least. He really is. His anticipation is just so good. So anyways, and it's important. That's what we call the notable things that we've taken note of that don't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, but are worth mentioning nonetheless.
Yeah, and there was also, before we touch on the Perfetti goal, because I think this is worth mentioning here, like, this was not, a busy night for a busy afternoon for Connor Hellebuck, but he made that big save. There was a 2-on-1 on Teddy Bluger, if you remember, right?
I do.
So, it's saves like that. Like, that happened shortly before Cole Perfetti goes in and does what we're going to talk about right away, right? So, it's things like that. Like, you just get used to Connor Hellebuck making saves like that, but that was a tough save, and obviously changes the outcome of this game. Instead of the Canucks being down 2 goals, obviously they'd be tied up. So just wanted to get that in there as well, that, it wasn't a super shot heavy afternoon for Hellebuck. He still had to make a few good saves.
Well, although the one save he didn't make was when one of the Canucks players went right through his 5-hole. I put that one out on social media. I kind of joked. I said Connor Hellebuck has to really protect his 5-hole a little bit better, because it really, that one, it was in the first period. I don't remember which player it was, as got dumped through him, and he just kind of lifted his leg. He's like, no, I don't think so. And I'm not stopping you. And he went right through him and into the back of the Jets net. But you are right. We do have to mention, and of course, we have to give thanks to our friends at Seagram's, because this Cole Perfetti goal, his 16th of the season, was in fact the Seagram's.
The Seagram's shot of the game.
Our thanks to our friends at Seagram's, like Seagram's VO as they all taste so good going down when the support a good local product. And this is I don't know that, it's funny because one of the questions I asked Kevin Sawyer on yesterday's Illegal Curve Hockey Show, again, I would suggest you go and check out that interview if you haven't.
It was great. He's awesome. Like, not only is he a good analyst, but just a good guy. And I mean, he was bringing it yesterday, not only talking about the Jets, Dave, but we were talking about his time in the NHL. We were talking about that 2003 Stanley Cup final between the Ducks and Devils, right? So, if you didn't hear it yesterday, definitely check it out.
And one of the questions I asked him was just about Cole Perfetti, and coincidentally, the Laval Rocket, will be in town to face the Manitoba Moose on Tuesday and Wednesday. They are currently coached by Pascal Vincent. They're one of the top teams in the AHL, former Moose coach, of course. And he, one of the things he talked about, and one of the things I brought up with Kevin, was this idea that Cole Perfetti needed to adjust and needed to learn how to use his body, but also figure out the league. And last year, he wasn't in every game. This year, he's played every single game for the Winnipeg Jets. And that's such a huge difference, a testament to the work he's put in. And even this year, we've seen a progression. And we joke about Prick Fetty. I mean, it does seem to be since that time when he scored his hat trick. Who was that against? Was that against? I'm trying to remember which team was that against. I want to say Colorado, but I don't think it was Colorado, was it? It was. Come on, folks.
I'm drawing a blank. Colorado kind of sounds right, but someone's going to. The chat always helps us out, Dave, because our memories sometimes fail us, and usually the chat bails us out.
Yeah. Oh, it was against. Was it against the Avs? Come on, people. Give me the. How come we haven't seen anybody give us the answer, Ezzy? I'm waiting. Oh, it was against Utah. It was against Utah. Sorry, folks. Okay, I did my own research while I was waiting for. Nope, Stu Smith, wrong. It was against the Utah Hockey Club. No. But regardless, the point is that since that time, his progression has been significant. And like I said, Kevin detailed it in in response to a question I had to him yesterday, which, like I said, go and check it out. Smash the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. And here we go again. As this is a guy who. And you got to credit the play of the Jets. It's a nice play by Kyle Connor along the wall to kind of make that little. Again, that's one of the things that Kyle Connor does. And this has been an improvised look, right, with Kyle Connor on with Nemestikov. But he just makes that nice little play. And then Nemestikov, too, makes a little chip. And you're like, okay. And the Canucks really, it's funny because if you actually look at the Canucks defense, talk about Teddy Blueger, he really isn't concerned. It's a one-on-one. And Derek Forbort, which I have to say, I'll be honest with everyone, and I said this in the press box. I thought when Derek Forbort left Winnipeg and got that job with the Bruins, I thought, okay, well, maybe he's got a little bit left in the tank. And he went on a bit of a run with Boston. I thought, okay, well, but that's probably the end of it. And then he got back with the Canucks, and I thought, boy, he's got more lives than a cat right now, because I don't know how he's sticking around. And we talked about him on I think it was the first goal. And now we're going to talk about him again on this one. But Cole Perfetti just recognizing time, space, and opportunity, does everything right. And then, but it's one thing to get around Derek Forbort. It's another thing to beat Thatcher Demko with that shot. And it's just a beautiful shot by Cole Perfetti, adds to the Jets' lead, and just gets the building a rocking.
Yeah, and everybody saw the goal, so I'm not really going to be able to use my words and really make it any nicer than it was, right, Dave? Like you mentioned, I mean, it was a nice little chip pass on the boards by Kyle Connor, but let's be honest here. This was all a one-on-one goal. And he absolutely posterizes Derek Forbort. There's really nothing else you can say. He absolutely burns him. And good on Cole Perfetti for realizing that he was in a position to toe drag Forbort there and put it through his legs. But you're absolutely right. I mean, he goes blocker side, top corner on Thatcher Demko. So the shot is almost equally as impressive as the toe drag on Forbort, right? But I mean, it's like you said, Dave, talking about Cole Perfetti, it's just we're continuing to see the evolution in his game, right? The confidence in his game to do things like that, right? And, Scott O'Neill mentioned it in his post-game presser, right? Talking about how Perfetti was a healthy scratch during last year's playoffs, right? And then you mentioned that he's played every single game. There's zero chance that he's going to be a healthy scratch during this year's playoffs. He has become such an important part of this team. He was always an important part of the team, but he was just going through struggles. And that's when you have to remind yourself he's only 23 years old, right? And he's only going to get better with age. So just an incredible goal, like an electric goal, like we talked about earlier. I wasn't in the building and you had gone home, Dave, but I can only imagine the pop that there was at Canada Life Center after that goal, because that's just a goal scorer's goal. Like there aren't a lot of guys in the league that can do that. And Derek Forbort's a veteran defenseman, but man, was he posterized. And much to the Jets fans' satisfaction, Perfetti remains red hot. And even though, he's on a new look line, he continues to produce. And I think, again, that's a testament to the fact that the Jets this year have been such a resilient team that if one or two guys are out of the lineup, which obviously the Jets have a couple regulars out of the lineup right now, they're able to, still continue a same level of play. And just, Velarde's goal against the Rangers is, I'm not going to say that was the nicest, Dave. I'm going to say that's number 2 nicest goal of the year.
Well, it's hard not to. Again, we'll have to go back and look at them, and we have a little bit of recency bias because we're right there, we're watching it tonight. But it was, again, I think it's just more of a statement. And again, like, I love the very muted, the big celebration, Ezzy, and then he goes back to Cole Perfetti.
I love it. I love it.
Again, and I saw it on the broadcast, and it's one of the things they're talking about. There's so many guys on this team who are getting to career highs, and we know that Cole Perfetti has already hit a career high in terms of his production, but it's not lost that he's producing in a way that is not, there's no cheating of the game, I guess is the way I'd look at it, right? He's playing in the tough areas. There was one shift in the first period, I thought, where he kind of went into I think there were 3 guys all along the wall, and, he may have shied away from that previously, but not now. And again, that's also part of why this Jet team is having success, because you're having guys like Cole Perfetti take that step, that progression in their game. And, we've watched him for 4 or 5 years now since the Jets drafted him back in 2020 as the 10th overall pick.
Yep.
But it's just another, again, feather in the cap of the coaching staff to have patience with a young player and say he's going to get there eventually. And again, this is one of those guys you needed to blossom, if you will, and to get to that next step. So Cole Perfetti makes it a 3-1 game and gives folks like us plenty to talk about. Plenty of folks in the chat, of course, have lots to talk about because of that highlight reel goal from Cole Perfetti. Well, Ezzy, that was kind of how things closed out. The Jets locked it in. I did kind of joke on Twitter saying, well, is it possible now we're going to see Carl Schwartz is right. Everyone, 400 in the chat, less than 200 likes. Come on, people.
We'll give Carl a little bit of a break because he meant to say, come on, everyone, not common everyone. Well, but what he's trying to do is he's trying to rally the troops here and get some more likes. And that's what we like to see, Dave. Like we have 200 likes now. Let's have 300 by the end of the show. 400. Well, let's go for it, man. You're not just
giving likes to Ezzy or to Drew or myself. Today is a very special day. I'm going to give a shout out to my Zeta Sam. It's his 98th birthday today. He didn't want to celebrate it. He didn't want any fanfare, but the family forced him to a little bit. But 98, still smart as a whip, still drives, still lives in his own condo. And he looks
great. For 98 years old, he is looking great, Dave. And so I will echo what you said. Happy birthday to Zeta Sam.
There you go. So you're not just smashing the like button for Drew, Ezzy, and myself. You're smashing it for my Zeta Sam, wishing him a happy 98th birthday. I told him, I'm like, Zeta, you're now 6 months older than Bob. My Baba, Shirley, his wife, is 97 and a half. So it's a period of time where he's 6 months older than my Baba, but eventually they'll get to that same spot. So at 98, still doing great and still able to help me around the house. It's amazing what this guy can do. Thank you, everyone, for giving my Zeta some shout outs. And again, smash that like button for my Zeta. He'll appreciate it. Well, I don't know if he'll appreciate it, but I would appreciate it on his behalf. Thank you, Flying Dukes. Anyways, we'll head to commercial break. Thank our sponsors for their sponsorship. We thank all of you, of course, for joining us each and every time we hit that go live button. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
So you're a pizza person, you married a wing person, but somehow your kids are salad people. You can't pick your fam, but you can pick your BP meal deal, starting from $18.99 for takeout or delivery at bostonpizza.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Number 74 on the season, Ezzy. Where has the season gone? Just 8 games left. I'm Dave Minuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We're here to close things out with the Jets winning yet again. 51 wins on the season for this Jets team that just doesn't want to lose any games. That's 3 in a row if you're keeping track at home. And there's a lot of joy in Joyland that, like I said, that the Jets are maintaining their edge on Dallas. And it's funny because someone was saying, the strength of schedule. I said, well, the strength of schedule is not going to matter if the Jets keep winning, right? Because the Jets do have that edge over the Dallas Stars. So any final thoughts from tonight's game or from, like you said, you corrected yourself. I'm going to correct myself, from this afternoon's game. And like I said, a very successful.
It's the evening now, by the way, Dave.
It is now the evening. Yes,
it is 6 o'clock. That's when the evening starts. It does not start at 5. It does not start at 5:30. And our boy Brent Bellamy, you just took the comment off, but he said if the Jets go 500 in their last 8 games, then Dallas needs to go 8-1. So that's why. Right. It's going to be very difficult for the Stars to pass the Jets, which we've been saying for the last couple of weeks, right? Even though Dallas just keeps winning. So right now the focus for the Jets is just keep winning. And hopefully that means that you're going to win the President's Trophy and then you're going to have home ice throughout. And, I think we have to just pause for a second and think about this, because no Jets 1.0 or 2.0 team has ever won the President's Trophy.
Exactly.
So this is history. So I realize some people are minimizing it, but can't you just really simplify it down, Dave, to, if you have a chance to win the President's Trophy, shouldn't you do it to ensure home ice throughout? Like, obviously, if the Jets finish second overall in the league, but they have home ice for the first 3 rounds, that's still going to be pretty good. But I think you want to, if you have an opportunity, which the Jets obviously do now, being 3 points up on the Capitals, even though they've played an extra game, there's a really good chance they can win this President's Trophy. So I do think it would be pretty special still to win the President's Trophy, even though we know the hardware that the Jets want is Lord Stanley's Grail, right? So just wanted to put that in perspective. And I think overall just impressed with this homestand, right? Because it obviously didn't start off well, losing to the Sabres, but the win against the Capitals was obviously huge, arguably the biggest game of the year at Canada Life Centre. And then, they handled the Devils pretty easily, scoring those 2 goals early in the first period and really never looking back. And then today I thought that they fought through a little bit of malaise, if you want to call it that, Dave.
Sure.
A little bit of a slower hockey game, a little more low event. But they stuck with it, started off with the Kyle Connor goal, got a greasy goal by Mason Appleton, and then obviously the Seagram shot of the game tonight, Cole Perfetti, with one of the nicer goals of the year. So a really impressive homestand, and it's not going to be an easy road trip because you're going up against 2 playoff teams in LA and Vegas, right? So you got to keep it going and make sure that you're staying on top of the Caps here.
Well, Doug's saying, are you saying the Jets should burn Hellebuck out again in order to win the President's Trophy?
No, and I don't think they will. I really do. Like, we've talked about this, Dave. Like, the coaching staff is obviously never going to tip their cap and tell us who's going to start the last 8 games. But if I'm a betting man, I'm probably saying I'm going to say Comrie gets 3 of the last 8 starts. I think most people would probably say 2, but I think it's going to depend on what happens in these last 8 games, obviously. But I think at the very least, Comrie's getting 2 of the last 8.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't say if I'm a betting man, because I think that might be going a little bit too far. But I'm going to change that. I'm going to say that Comrie gets 2 of the last 8, and potentially 3 if the Jets have the President's Trophy locked up the last couple games. That's what I'm going to go with. And I think that's logical. I think that's fair, right, Dave?
Yeah, I mean, it is, although it's interesting because if Hellebuck gets 5 of the next 8, then the best he can do is tie Braden Holtby and Marty Brodeur for the best ever, most wins, I should say, by a Canadian, or not by a Canadian, by an NHL goaltender. So it'll be interesting if that plays into it. But look, at the end of the day, we'll see. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you also got to remember, Ezzy, these games aren't particularly taxing. And it's easy for me to say from my lofty perch in the press box, or from my comfy couch, or my comfy chair, I should say, doing the post-game show.
It's good to see you, by the way, back at your house and not just using the virtual background. A lot of people have noticed that Dave M's had that virtual background for the last few weeks.
Well, I go in between. I use both. It's fine. It's not, I mean, I can't be quite as much as gestury, if you will, but regardless of that, the fact is that, like I said, it's been a good run so far. It's good really good homestand, as he says, and the Jets are going to head out west starting tomorrow. They are off tomorrow. Of course, illegalcurve.com will still have all the latest Jets news. We'll have next day thoughts from Connor Rabchak. That'll be available around 11 o'clock and maybe 10:30 even. And of course, we'll have his week in review, courtesy of our friends at Winnipeg Sports Talk. So there'll still be lots of coverage, and I will be at Moose practice at 11:30 tomorrow morning. So I will have all the things covered about those Manitoba Moose. As I don't think I'm going to hit the bumper tonight unless you want me to, but the Moose, we have gone a little bit long. It's been a long post-game show. The Moose,
we'll save it for Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll save it for Tuesday, but I will say the Moose playoff dreams, hopes, whatever you want to call them, aspirations, they basically ended yesterday in Rockford, as I already mentioned. So the Moose, they ended their season. Well, they haven't ended their season officially, and probably not a good segue for me to say, but if you want to go see the Moose play, we've got tickets. So if you want to go to the Moose game on Tuesday night, they've got a bunch of promos they're doing. I think it's back to summer promo on Tuesday night. Then they got another promo on Wednesday. You can see former Moose head coach, Jets assistant coach, Pascal Vincent. It's his first time back in Manitoba as a head coach in the AHL, because of course he was an NHL head coach for a bit with Columbus, but now he's back in the AHL. And like I said, doing a real good job in Laval. So if you want those tickets, send me an email, dave@illegalcurve.com, or just slide into my DMs. I see Dave. If you don't remember, I will put that out tomorrow or Tuesday, so you can go to the game in the IC zone. We got some good tickets for those games. So if you want to go, let me know. And I'm going to tell you that, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, quick prospect note, Braden Yager. He had 2 primary assists in the Lethbridge win over Brandon in game 1. And he had 2 goals yesterday as the Hurricanes have a 2-0 series lead over the Brandon Wheat Kings. I know our friends in Brandon aren't going to be happy about that. I'm not celebrating it. And game 3, Lethbridge
is a good team, though. I don't know if Brandon's going to be able to come back in the series. Like you said, we're pulling for the Wee Kings because they're obviously the only dub team in our province, but led by Braden Yager. That's a deep team.
Yeah, it is a good team. And so, and they're heading to Verdun to play game 3, Ezzy, because it's there's a big fair in Brandon.
Royal Winter Fair, it's called.
Yeah, the Royal Winter Fair, which takes over the arena there. So the folks are going to be, the game 3 will be played in Verdun.
Oil country.
Yeah, that's true. It is oil country. So I do not, by the way, Warren Monroe is telling me not to forget Colby Barlow. I won't forget Colby Barlow. I mentioned his 3 goals and 1 assist in game 1. I don't know what he did. Well, game 2 is tonight, I think, of his OHL series. So don't worry, folks. There's plenty of time to remember everything. And again, if I forget to mention it on a broadcast, Ezzy, then it's always available on illegalcurve.com, because that is where we post everything to do with Jets prospects, the Moose, and of course, the Winnipeg Jets. Okay, well, it's been a great show. It's been another long show. This was not supposed to be my leading the ship, as it was supposed to be Drew Mandel, but Drew decided to abandon ship and decided to go and, take his family and have a good time in Kentucky. So I'm going to close out the show, unless you've got some final thoughts, Ez? Or you
No, we can close out the show. I mean, we went a solid hour, 16 minutes here, Dave. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to, we're going to go have a few cold ones a little bit with some of our friends. So I'm looking forward to that. And just looking forward to the West Coast trip. Obviously, there's going to be some late games coming up.
Ooh, get your sleep in.
Looking forward to it, to see if the Jets can keep it going and stay atop the entire league in first place as they chase that President's Trophy.
It will be fun, and we will be there for every moment of those games and the chase, and of course, illegalcurve.com. When we're not live on this show or on the Saturday show, is your number one destination for Jets Moose and Jets prospect details. And we thank all of you for joining us each and every time we go live. And we thank all of our sponsors. Big thanks to all of our sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the postgame show, the Saturday show, and the aforementioned website, illegalcurve.com, a possibility. They are in no particular order: Rumors Restaurant, a comedy club, Play Now, Holt Dental, Boston Pizza, City Place, Seagram's. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. I'm going to end the show with another birthday shout out to my Zeta Sam. You don't turn 98 every day, although he tried to pretend like it wasn't that big a deal. So happy birthday, Zeta Sam.
Yeah, I wanted to give a shout out. I wasn't on the show a couple of weeks back, but Sean Jacob, one of the biggest fans of Illegal Curve, one of our biggest supporters, turned 55 recently. So to Sean Jacob, we call him Damone. Happy birthday, obviously belated. It was a couple of weeks ago, but because I didn't get a shout out in for Sean, I'm going to do it now. So happy 55th. Hopefully he's listening or watching to us in the Interlake.
There you go. We do love our fans in the Interlake. We love our fans anywhere, whether you're in Manitoba, Winnipeg, or anywhere across the world. Okay, it's been another great show. We appreciate you joining us here after every single time we go live. This has been another Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm Dave Minuk. He's Ezzy Ginsburg. We'll be back in action, late in action, Tuesday night, technically Wednesday morning, when the Jets take on the LA Kings. As Ezzy says, another stretch of the final stretch, I should say, of the late regular season game. So thanks a lot for joining us. Have a great rest of your Sunday. And remember, smash that like button before you go for the rest of your night. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. And we will talk to you on Tuesday night.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.